By the summer of 1940, Europe was gasping under the iron weight of the Nazi conquest. Hitler's armies had moved like wildfire, blitzkrieg in name, lightning in speed. In a matter of months, Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and France had fallen. Cities burned, flags changed, and soldiers marched beneath swastikas. Only one major power stood defiant, Britain, but it stood alone. Across the English Channel, Hitler prepared for invasion. His forces were emboldened, well-supplied, and accustomed to victory. Britain's position was dire. Her military was still recovering from the evacuation at Dunkirk. Her cities were bracing for bombs. The country faced not just defeat, but total annihilation.
I'm in danger!
British commanders, shaken but clear-eyed,
"Call an ambulance! But not for me!"
reached a grim conclusion. Conventional warfare alone would not be enough. Traditional strategies, line of infantry, tanks in the field, would not halt a Nazi empire that moved with such speed and brutality. The Luftwaffe flew overhead, the panzers rolled unchecked, and the morale of occupied Europe was shattered.
Wait!
The only way forward was to fight differently.
I'm freaking pumped! I've been drinking green tea all goddamn day!
Victory would come not from head-on confrontation, but from within the shadows, through disruption, deception, and destruction behind enemy lines. It would be a war not of armies, but of ideas, and it was about to begin.
He had the craziest look in his eyes, and at one point he said, "Let's get it on."
Welcome to another history podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Rittenauer, and today we're talking about the SOE, the Special Operations Executive, or better known as the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. In May 1940, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He inherited not just a nation at war, but a nation in peril.
Wait a minute!
His predecessor had failed to stem the Nazi tide. The British people were frightened. Their allies had fallen. The fate of the free world now rested on a battered island and its bulldog leader. Churchill did not flinch. Where others sought caution, he demanded innovation. Where others retreated, he called for resistance. And where conventional thinking held sway, Churchill shattered it. He believed deeply that survival hinged not only on soldiers and ships, but on irregular warfare, sabotage, misinformation, and guerrilla tactics that could paralyze the enemy from within.
Oh, I long to be, is it wrong to be inside you?
He imagined a new breed of soldier, not marching in columns, but moving invisibly, not wearing uniforms, but disguises. They would be saboteurs, spies, couriers, and insurgents. Their weapons would be ingenuity and stealth. Their mission? To make every German occupier in Europe feel unsafe. He delivered his directive with typical business. Now go and set Europe ablaze. Those words were not poetic. They were operational orders. Churchill was authorizing the creation of a new secret force.
Not really. Maybe. It's classified.
One built to wage an invisible war behind enemy lines, far from the front but no less deadly. To transform Churchill's incendiary vision into a reality, the British government took a bold step. It merged 3 clandestine agencies into one. Each had its own specialty, its own secrets, and together they would form the backbone of a new kind of warfare. First was Section D of MI6, an elite cell already experimenting with sabotage and subversion. Its agents had laid the groundwork for underground networks and developed unconventional weapons, many of which would later fuel the legendary double-cross system, turning Nazi spies into British double agents. Then there was MIR, or Military Intelligence Research, a war office think tank that had been playing with radical ideas like booby traps, guerrilla warfare, and psychological sabotage. Though the department was short-lived, its intellectual fingerprints would be found across every sabotage mission the British launched thereafter. Finally came the Electra House, a branch of the Foreign Office that specialized in black propaganda. Forged identity papers, fake radio broadcasts, and counterfeit newspapers.
Fake news. It's fake. Phony. Fake.
Among their most devious creations was Gustav Siegfried Eins, a fake German radio station that aired anti-Nazi tirades in perfect German to stir confusion and suspicion within the Reich itself.
Nein, 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 nein!
On July 22, 1940, these entities were united under the Ministry of Economic Warfare, and a new agency was born, the Special Operations Executive, or SOE. Churchill, never one for dry acronyms, gave it a better name, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. At first glance, 64 Baker Street in London looked like any other office building, ordinary, unremarkable, forgettable. That was the point. Behind its anonymous doors, however, was one of the most secretive and aggressive war rooms in British history. The SOE's headquarters pulsed with energy. Planners laid out missions, cryptographers cracked codes, engineers designed weapons, and field agents passed in and out in plain clothes. It was a machine of shadow warfare. The operatives became known, half affectionately, half in jest, as the Baker Street Irregulars, a nod to Sherlock Holmes' streetwise informants. These were linguists, soldiers, engineers, and killers operating under the radar of not just the Nazis, but sometimes even their own government.
Judge gave me 2 ankle bracelets.
The SOE's true nature had to remain hidden, even from other British agencies.
Tell me literally everything. Everyone, shut up!
It operated under harmless-sounding aliases like Inter-Service Research Bureau and the Statistical Research Department. The result was often chaos in Whitehall, but total operational freedom in the field. This extreme compartmentalization kept their work secret and kept their agents alive. From the outset, the SOE operated with one guiding principle: win by any means necessary, and that meant ignoring the rulebook.
Real mature, man.
Yeah, don't you ever tell me how to live my life again.
Traditional military codes didn't apply. The SOE's agents were licensed to do what regular soldiers could not: assassinate, sabotage, deceive, and terrorize. Their tactics would never pass a tribunal, and that was by design.
I meant to do that.
The agency embraced what others feared. Their weapon labs designed ingenious devices: guns hidden in pipes, explosives disguised as lumps of coal, pens that fired bullets, lipstick that killed. Their design team worked closely with individuals who would later form the inspiration of James Bond Q Branch. There was no moral high ground, only results. Success was measured in chaos: a bridge destroyed, a train derailed, a factory silenced. As Churchill famously put it, if it breaks Hitler's machine, it's fair game. The Geneva Conventions were irrelevant here. The SOE was playing a different game, one designed to unbalance, terrify, and confuse the enemy, and they were only just getting started.
We're just getting started.
The SOE didn't recruit like the regular army. Its agents came from all corners of the empire and far outside traditional ranks. Former soldiers, linguists, aristocrats, smugglers, engineers, forgers, and even convicted criminals. If you had the nerve, the skills, and the mind for misdirection, you were eligible. Backgrounds didn't matter. What mattered was resilience, fluent deception, and the ability to operate under pressure and undercover. The training was as unorthodox as the mission. Remote country estates across Britain were converted into covert academies. Each site had a specialty. The Arisag House trained combat and survival. Bolu taught espionage and infiltration. Wanborough Manor molded leaders and saboteurs. At Station 17 in Brickendenbury, recruits learned the darker arts: how to forge identities, plan explosives, derail trains, kill silently, and disappear into a crowd. There were no second chances. Every trainee was evaluated constantly. Many failed, some cracked, only the most adaptable made it through. Those who passed were sent to the field, alone, equipped with false papers, a radio transmitter, a cyanide pill, and whatever tools their mission required. They would be the prototype for future elite operatives, MI6, the SAS, and countless intelligence agencies yet to be born. They forged a new kind of camaraderie, not built on uniforms or ceremony, but on shared danger, total secrecy, and the knowledge that help, if it came at all, would arrive too late.
I called for help twice, and not a fuck you, what do you need, or nothing.
It was June 1941 when the SOE prepared to unleash one of its first daring sabotage missions deep inside occupied France. Codenamed Operation Josephine B, the objective was precise and critical: the Passac transformer station near Bordeaux. The facility wasn't just another power grid. It was the beating electrical heart behind Germany's U-boat pens, chemical plants, and aircraft facilities along the Atlantic coast. Initially, the British had weighed the brute force option, bomb it from the air, but the proximity to French civilians made such an attack politically and morally risky. There would be no mass destruction from above. Instead, the plan called for a stealth mission, surgical, silent, and devastating. It would demonstrate to the enemy and to the world what a small, well-trained unit could accomplish under the cover of night. The team was assembled with precision. Jean-Pierre Foreman, Raymond Cabard, and André Varnier, 3 agents trained by the SOE in demolition and silent infiltration, would lead the charge. They would be joined by Joel Latac, a local contact embedded in the French resistance who provided critical intelligence from inside enemy territory. The training had been intense and specific. In England, they had rehearsed the entire operation at a mock facility built to resemble the target. Guiding their preparation was Cecil Clarke, an eccentric genius behind the Limpet mine, and later the infamous suitcase bomb used in Operation Anthropod. Parachuting into occupied France under the cover of darkness, the team quickly buried their gear to avoid detection. But war rarely follows the script. When they dug up their supplies, they found a saboteur's nightmare: damaged fuses and waterlogged explosives.
Oh, not now!
Improvisation became the greatest weapon. With Latac's detailed surveillance of German patrols, they recalibrated their plan. Timing would be everything.
The next day.
Crawling on their bellies through fences and mud, working by the faintest glimmers of moonlight, the agents crept towards the humming station. The limpet charges were coated in grease and magnetized for placement, but the wet surfaces fought back, and every second stretched into an eternity. Finally, the charges were affixed. They vanished into the night. When the explosions came, they were precise and deafening. 6 of the 7 transformers were annihilated in seconds. In an instant, electricity vanished from key Nazi operations across southwest France. Submarine activity faltered, aircraft production stalled, chemical operations froze, the blackout threw a wrench into the Nazis' war machine, and word of the destruction sent ripples across occupied territory. The response was as swift as it was merciless. The German executed 12 guards, arrested 250 local civilians, and fined the town 1 million francs.
Worth it?
Yet, despite the intensity of the manhunt, the saboteurs slipped through the net. Using an underground network of resistance safe houses, they navigated treacherous terrain, scaled mountain passes, and escaped into neutral Spain. Their success wasn't just tactical, it was strategic. Churchill's faith in precision sabotage had been vindicated.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say I told you so.
Operation Josephine B proved that a small unit acting with stealth could achieve what bombers could not. It laid the blueprint for SOE missions to come: rehearse obsessively, strike precisely, vanish completely. The mission remained classified for years, concealed to protect those still operating in the shadows. But when the war ended, the truth emerged. The team was decorated for their heroism, and Operation Josephine B was cemented as a foundational success in covert Allied sabotage. By 1943, a new and terrifying threat loomed over the war: the Nazi nuclear program. Allied intelligence confirmed that Germany was stockpiling deuterium oxide, or heavy water, to fuel its research into atomic weapons.
How about new, you crazy Dutch bastard?
At the center of this quiet arms race stood a seemingly impregnable fortress in Rjukan, Norway, the Vemork heavy water plant. Vemork was more than a facility. It was a symbol of Nazi ambition, perched atop a cliff, surrounded by steep gorges, landmines, and a single heavily guarded bridge. The plant seemed to be untouchable. Its output of heavy water was critical to sustaining nuclear fission using natural uranium. If Hitler got a bomb, the consequences were unimaginable. The Allies' first move, Operation Grouse, sent 4 Norwegian operatives into the mountains near Rjukan. These men endured sub-zero temperatures, avalanches, and near starvation, all while scouting enemy positions and transmitting intelligence back to Britain. They became ghosts in the snow, surviving the brutal winter with resolve and grit. Then came Operation Freshman, an attempt to land British engineers by glider. It ended in disaster. The gliders crashed, survivors were captured, and under Hitler's notorious commando order, were executed without trial. It was a chilling reminder of the stakes, and yet the mission could not be abandoned. Churchill gave the order to try again, this time with a team entirely composed of Norwegians. These were men who knew the land, spoke the language, and had trained for sabotage in the hills of Scotland. The operation was named Gunnerside, and it would become one of the most celebrated raids in modern history. Led by the 23-year-old Joachim Ronenberg, the 6-man Gunnerside team parachuted into Norway in February, skiing silently to rendezvous with the surviving Grouse operatives, now codenamed Swallow. They spent weeks planning their route using local maps, recon photos, and resistance intelligence. In time, they discovered a forgotten entry point, a lightly guarded cable shaft, accessible only through a frozen gorge.
Actually, that one's really good. Shit, I may use that.
On the night of February 27th to 28th, the team made their move. They skied through icy terrain, descended into the ravine, and infiltrated the plant in total silence. Inside, they bypassed alarms, set 18 explosives with time fuses, and just to confuse investigators, left a British Thompson submachine gun in plain sight. The blasts were perfect. All existing heavy water stocks were destroyed, along with the electrolysis chambers needed to produce more. The mission achieved its objective without a single German casualty. The saboteurs escaped undetected, skiing for days across hostile terrain. Some made it to neutral Sweden, others remained with the resistance to continue the fight. The Germans scrambled to recover, but Allied air raids and a final sabotage mission in 1944 sealed Vomork's fate. As the Nazis attempted to transport the remaining heavy water barrels, they were sabotaged and sunk in Lake Tinso, taking Hitler's nuclear dreams to the bottom with them. Historians agree Operation Gunnerside delayed the Nazi nuclear program by at least a year the Allies desperately needed to advance their own atomic efforts. It is widely believed that without this delay, Germany may have achieved a working prototype before the war ended. Churchill and Allied scientists hailed it as one of the most strategically significant missions of the war. It proved that with the right men, the right plan, and the right moment, even the most fortified target could be brought down.
Gotcha, bitch!
Every member of the Gunnerside team received Norway's highest honors. They spoke little of what they had done, choosing instead to return to quiet lives. Ronenberg, who lived to be over 90, said he simply did what had to be done. In the silence of their success, their legend only grew.
I don't want it. I never have.
The Special Operations Executive rewrote the rules of war. Its agents were unsung heroes, operating in silence and secrecy, often without recognition, but their impact was profound. They tied up enemy forces, crippled infrastructure, and built alliances that helped pave the way for liberation. They inspired future generations of special forces and intelligence agencies around the world.
That's a great idea.
Churchill's Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare proved that sometimes the only way to defeat a brutal enemy is to fight just as ruthlessly, without losing sight of what you're fighting for. Thank you for watching the first episode of another history podcast. Again, I'm your host, Joseph Rittenauer, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe and drop a like. It means the world. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time.